Kishi Bashi, Sonderlust.
Can't. I'm trying to get. Okay. Hey, friends. Welcome to another Punk Mosh review. My name is Jason Anderson, and today I am going to be reviewing Sonderlust by Kishi Bashi. This is the third album from multi-instrumentalist musician Kishi Bashi, and this is following his first album, 151A, which found a reasonable amount of commercial playtime. It was on a smart car commercial, it was on a tablet commercial, and it's not hard to see why with these very direct and fun pop songs like Bright Whites, Atticus in the Desert, Chester's Burst Over the Hamptons, that were able to kind of get this retro vibe into some of them while still staying current and always very, very fun. Second album, Light, met pretty good acclaim. It was 52nd on the Billboard charts, which is pretty great, obviously. But it was going into a direction that I was a little afraid of. It went from being youthful to almost getting a little juvenile, with songs like Q&A and The Ballad of Mr. Steak. And I was a little afraid of that. I still enjoyed the album greatly, still had a lot of fun listening to it, but I was afraid down the road that it might continue to go down into this a little too juvenile and dumbed down area. But luckily, this album has showed a vast maturity in his music, and who guys? This album starts out with a nod to his past style, which was a lot more bare bones, with these loops of this pizzicato violin string, and this vocal loop that almost sounds like a fanfare coming in with it. And it leads into this real thumping, anthemic type song. The loops are still numerous and interesting as they were, but are not necessarily the focal point as they used to be. Sometimes these loops can get a little overshadowed, which is a little sad, but honestly, these songs are still a whole lot of fun, no matter where the loops are in these arrangements. One of the biggest things that comes out in this album, maybe a little more than the last ones, is that he has a sheer love, deep love for string instruments. This shows in this album because of these arrangements.
Oh man!
Instead of being just these run-of-the-mill, they're strings, here's a violin, here's a cello, they're playing along, it becomes really its own voice to the songs. They are so lush and just juicy. They add such a nice texture to all of these songs, and they really lead these songs along in just the most beautiful way. Besides the strings, which are really just gorgeous. Some of the unsung heroes of this album, the bass. Ooh, these bass lines, man, especially in the first few tracks. Ooh, they're so funky. They remind me actually of Montreal a lot, which isn't surprising considering he's toured with Of Montreal extensively in the past. And the guitars, this acoustic guitar, it just chugs along to these songs, most notably in the song Hey Big Star, which is just a standout track on this album, has such a nice bass line to it. This guitar in the back is kind of retro, always strumming, and adding this nice bass note to this whole song. And oh man, that jazz flute solo in Say Yeah, the jazz flute solo in Say Yeah is everything. And I think that speaks to this album quite a bit, that he can bring all of these kind of strange instruments and bring them together very organically. These synths and these lush strings and a harpsichord, but he's able to bring all of these together and make it sound almost like a symphony playing. I think the biggest factor in bringing all this together is his voice, his angelic cherub voice that has floated down from the heavens and kissed us in the ears. It's this just gorgeous falsetto that soars through these songs. He has such an easy emotion in his voice. The song Flame on Flame, where in the outro he's singing a strong sadness, where he is almost embracing the sadness, knowing that it'll make him grow stronger. Learn to love the rain. And it's just such a beautiful high moment on this album. The song Ode to My Next Life is probably the most electronic, glitchy sounding song on this album, but still he is able to make it seem just so natural and flowing and disco-y, and that's just great. And I'm dancing but feeling things too. Each song has its own atmosphere, has its own story, has its own textures. It's truly pulls you in every single song and feels different every time. Even if they're using some of the same sounds in songs, it really does feel like a different story, like a book of fairy tales or something. And much like a book of fairy tales, he brings this youthful joy to it. Like a kid seeing the world and how they find beauty in everything. I really can't say enough good things about this album. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was very sad when it was over and wanted to listen to it again. I think I'm probably going to give this album a 9 out of 10, as it's, I think, my favorite album of the year so far. Really? So how do you guys feel about this album? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you indifferent? Did you listen to it while taking out the trash or something? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter at PunkMosh Reviews. I upload a lot of playlists. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. This has been a review of Kishi Bashi's Sonderlust.